Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the OFRN info session for round 5 pre-release. My name is Bob Tanner. I'm the Executive Director for the Ohio Federal Research Network. And we're excited to have you here today. We're going to give you a lot of information and hopefully answer some questions. We may not answer all the questions. Either we've run out of time or we don't have some of the answers at our fingertips, but we'll certainly follow back up with you to get you the answers. So today's your opportunity to hear from some experts around training and proposal prep. And again, hopefully answer some of your questions. So with that, Becky, let's go ahead and start. So I just mentioned what we're going to do today. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the presentation. Have some colleagues who are going to speak to you about proposal training, and our contracts office is here. They'll be able to answer any questions you might have relative to the contracts that will result at the end of the selection process. Slide. So some of you may know all about OFRN. Those that don't, you can certainly visit our website, but I'll give you a quick overview. Basically, OFRN was created in 2015 to stimulate Ohio's innovation economy and really to work at building strategic relationships across academia, government, and industry. And if we were all being honest with ourselves, we would recognize that sometimes it's a challenge to work across sectors and domains. You sort of get into your routine and whether it's technology or what your particular focus is, finding connections to accelerate that technology development in other domains or sectors is sometimes challenging. So that's really the mission behind OFRN. Is we work with government, our federal partners in Ohio, NASA Glenn, NAMRUD, AFRL, ODOT, the Guard, a lot of federal partners here in Ohio. Those are assets that have been here for some years, and we work with them to provide technology solutions to their mission needs. And we do that by engaging Ohio's research universities and our industry. Ohio's got a significant industry around lots of leading technologies. Of late, we have been focused in the aero industry with UAV development, but it's really even a broader domain than just aviation. And this round 5 actually opened up a little bit to solicit input for some other technologies outside of the aero domain. But again, this is all done in an effort to accelerate the development of technology. Ultimately, if we're able to innovate, create technologies that may result in spin-out companies, may result in the creation of jobs, boy, you're doing some great work then, and you're creating economic growth for the state of Ohio and accelerating the missions of those involved in academia, industry, and government. Slide. So this is just a little more detail about our strategic focus. Again, really trying to leverage the assets of Ohio, our federal labs, our university network, and to create partnerships with all of them so that they have other opportunities besides just the OFRN opportunities, but have other opportunities to work on federal projects and to grow their capabilities. One of the things that we do is we assist in the preparation and training of proposal creation and proposal writing, and you'll get a little more of that today, but that's an effort that's done to really position everyone, all the respondents, to compete in a strong way for other federal funding. That's something we've been successful at in the past through these exercises. Folks have sharpened up their skills at proposal development and have gone on to have successful follow-on projects or awards, bringing back additional federal funding into the state of Ohio. And again, all of this is, when it all syncs up, it actually creates new jobs in Ohio, and that's really at the core of our mission. Go ahead. So here's a slide that just depicts some of the partners we've worked with. We work with a number of universities throughout Ohio. You'll see them all listed there. We're hopeful that we can continue to expand that list, but these are organizations that have been involved in some way, shape, or form with OFRN projects. There's a detailed list of the federal partners that we work with. Out of this, we've already to date had 8 spin-out organizations. We've really been successful in building these partnerships and creating new technologies and commercializing many of those technologies. Slide. So here's just a little bit of the impact from the investment to date. We've funded some 28 projects, and what that's actually created in the way of follow-on funding is, I think it's well over 200 million. I don't think those numbers actually reflect some of the wins that we've had of late with Agility Prime. Several OFRN projects and teammates have been successful in bringing in some Agility Prime awards. So we're tabulating those, but very exciting. Actually, a great response from Ohio and OFRN on Agility Prime campaign. And we've created some 900 plus jobs, a number of invention disclosures or IP developments. And it's also attracted a significant investment by venture capitalists and additional funds back into Ohio and into these organizations. So the mission is successful, and we're just continuing to grow all these numbers, and we're pretty proud of that detail to date. Thank you. Next slide. So this is just to give you a little example of what the last 2 rounds have been about. Has been a fairly significant focus on UAS, and making sure that technology continues to grow. That's an absolutely huge industry. It's just going to continue to grow exponentially. The latest growth, really a lot going on with Agility Prime and eVTOL technologies. So it's not going to slow down. It's just going to keep growing. But these are technologies and projects that were successful in rounds 3 and 4. The projects there in the center, colored arrows, are some projects that are actually now being employed on a national basis. Some of them are working with the FAA in their efforts to integrate the UAS into the NAS. The projects there on the far right, the colored arrows there, additional projects, really pretty exciting technologies being developed. If you haven't seen the video that we did at our testing of round 3, you'll get to see a couple of projects, the Ghost Wave project, the UC project, doing some great demonstrations there. And actually we've gotten some national recognition out of that, and it's actually attracted several national companies to inquire into Ohio about our capabilities. I guess more to follow on that. I'm not at liberty to disclose some of it, but some pretty exciting news where we'll have some national companies looking to take these technologies and incorporate them into what their missions are for a UAS and actually small package delivery. And whet your appetite a little bit with some of that. So next slide. So this is more specific as to round 5. What we've done in this round is try to give folks a little more time to prepare. In fact, that's the purpose in doing a pre-release, is to give you a lot of information up front before the clock starts ticking. But these are the criteria for application, same as in the past, in that you need an Ohio industry member. We've had some questions around, can it be a national company? Certainly it can be if they have an Ohio office, and that Ohio office is doing the project activity. So, and then universities, 2 colleges or universities, that's a requirement. And then in the federal partner, you need to be able to align to one of the AOIs in the solicitation, and those federal partners are listed here. What we've done is not try to make that too much of a burden on all the respondents and the federal partners. We didn't ask for a formal LOI as evidence of that alignment, but we do want you to have engagement. So we're going to provide contact information, and you need to have a serious conversation, talk about the technology and its application to the AOIs, and make sure that the federal partner sees this as a value and something they would be interested in. You just simply can't put down a phone number and a name and expect that we would see alignment based just on that. These folks are going to be involved in the process, so they'll know who they've spoken to, and they'll know certainly the relevance of your technology against those AOIs. Slide. So here's some detail around the proposal submission. We've changed it up a little bit this round, trying to make it a little more workable. We know everybody's busy. There's lots of challenges out there. Obviously, we're going into the holidays, but hopefully you'll be able to hit the ground running first of the year. The volume 1, we've reduced down to a total of 10 pages with volume 1 and 1A. That's your technical paper with the supplemental there supporting commercialization and economic impact particulars. But from there, what we then would do is evaluate those proposals and do a down select from there. And at that point, you'd be notified. The cost proposal would be due along with a slide deck, a 15-slide deck for a presentation by, it wouldn't be in person, probably be virtual, but it would be you presenting the project to a team of technical advisors, and that team is probably from 12 to 18 members of the science community, technology community, and economic development, entrepreneurs, a good cross-section of talent in Ohio that would evaluate those proposals. OFRN staff will not be evaluating. I won't be selecting any of those proposals or have a vote. So, and that's the way we've conducted that in the past. Slide. So this year we've added an element. It's really to incorporate student engagement, student involvement. We think that these projects are great opportunities for students to be involved from technology development through commercialization and into the marketplace. And they get to work ideally with, all the different sectors, the defense sector, industry, government, academia. This is not just provide a student with a job in a lab and be done with it. We really want you to be creative in developing and designing a program for the students so that they get the full experience of what these projects do, and the challenges that they run into, the successes. We just think it's awesome for students to be involved, from the ground up and really go through action learning. It's hands-on learning, and we think all of you are great mentors and could help the students. So that's something we want you to propose. We have provided some parameters for the program, but looking for the respondents to really be creative and putting together ideas for internship programs and student experiences. The team matchmaking is something that we've added. My colleague Dave Nestick will speak a little more about that in a minute, but that is taking a chapter out of the Agility Prime playbook. We did that to assist the Air Force in a small business office. We had quite a bit of success with that, so we're doing that with OFRN. And the details are on the website, and again, Dave will give you some of that, but you now have the opportunity to ask if you have an interest and a need to form a partnership and you're not sure exactly what to do or where to go and how to do that. This process will help you with that. And it's a live iterative process. I get copied on all these emails, and it's really exciting to see folks matching up technologies and capabilities with one another. So I think you'll find that quite valuable. And then there is a bidders conference. It is probably another exercise in giving you information and detail. A lot of that is covered here, but you're going to have a required proposal training as part of that. You're going to need to be able to participate in these training exercises. Again, that's so critical to what we do at OFRN, and we want you to be trained and involved in how best to do that and perform these projects. So that's going to be part of the opening bidders conference. And then they'll also give you training on the pitch deck presentation. That's unique and specialized, and we have experts that will help you with that as well. And then in addition, we'll give you some further training on pitch presentation, and those sort of one-off 1-hour sessions are optional, but we would encourage you to take advantage of those. It really helps you hone those presentation skills. So, slide. So this is critical dates for the round 5, and this is on the website. It's been in some of the news or the releases that we've sent out, the emails. Nothing has changed here, so we're staying close to this schedule. If anything does change, we would certainly alert you to that. But you want to definitely pay attention to all the timelines here, and again, that information is on the website and accessible. But give us a call if you have questions on those dates or the activities behind the dates. Slide. So this is a little more about the process itself, the review process. As I mentioned, the proposal comes in, and those are evaluated by the TRC, and you're down selected. Those that are viewed competitive and responsive, they'll go to the stage 2, which would be the pitch deck presentation. And that's the presentation in front of the TRC where questions are asked, more detail is sought, but it's an abbreviated exercise. You've got to be really crisp with your presentation and know what's expected of you and how to communicate that information in a concise and effective way. And then the TRC would make a recommendation on which proposals would be selected or awarded. There's really no predetermined number. We anticipate that the awards could be upwards of $2 million per project, and we've got a pretty decent budget this time around. The details of that are still being worked out, but we don't have a fixed number of projects that we want all of this process to fit into. So it's still open and very competitive. I know in round 4, when I came in and participated, I was just really impressed with the level of expertise and the caliber of the technology and the teams. The expertise is just super impressive. But ultimately, those recommendations then are made to an executive review board, and that board will turn around recommendations within a week, and then we're hoping that awards are made soon thereafter. Our goal is to go through this process expeditiously and get the project started, try to sync up with the academic year and make sure that folks are hitting the ground running in the early part of the year. Slide. So this is a list of the 11 AOIs, areas of interest, and you folks have probably looked at the solicitation, so there's a lot of detail behind these categories. I didn't plan on reading them all off. I know you'll have done your homework, so you know what these opportunities mean. These are the areas that your technology needs to align with. And again, we've opened this up a little bit, so it's not exclusively all about UAS and UAV, although those are significant technologies. eVTOL, certainly with the Agility Prime campaign, continues to be huge for the industry and for Ohio. Ohio's got tremendous expertise here, and we're really doing a lot to help the Air Force, NASA, and FAA with those campaigns. But look at these capabilities and AOIs and see how they align. We'll give you information so you can reach out to the SMEs with the federal partners. Number 12 is actually there to give you an opportunity to do something that might not be listed here. You'd still have to go through and make sure that there's alignment and with the federal partners. So, we ask you to keep that process intact, but it gives you a little more opportunity to, if there's a technology that you think is critical, it's not here, investigate it further with the federal partners and see if it doesn't align with their needs. Next slide. So I'm going to turn this over to Dave Nestick, who'll walk through the training. That'll give me a chance to do something with my dog and let him out so he doesn't disrupt us any further. But thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoy the remainder, and I'll catch back up momentarily when Dave and the team wrap their piece up.
Hey,
Dave?
during this transition, while we're let's see, I got to pick a screen to share with you. And I want to verify that my screen is now showing. Do you see my screen, Becky? Becky or Bob?
Yes, I do.
All right, good. So I'm just going to go over, I'm going to try a live thing here too, so bear with me. And Bob, while we're kind of here, there's been a couple questions in the Q&A that look pretty good. Let's address those now, and then I'll go on and talk a little bit more about the training and look at the team matchmaking stuff.
Sure. So if you've got them teed up, David, you want to read them off?
I don't. I've got my presentation up, but Becky, could you pull up the questions or?
Let me see. Let me see if I've got a few of them here. Maybe I can read these. So here's a question. In terms of use of funds, should the students be paid from the company or by the universities and undertake internships at the company? Will tuition waivers by the universities count toward cost share? So actually good questions. I will say that we are still evaluating how the funds might cover this, but I would encourage the respondents, the participants, to offer reimbursement or pay for the student experience. This is something that we all need to sort of share in. So we're still evaluating what level of contribution we might be able to make. There's an awful lot out there in the way of grants. If you've checked some of the Ohio sites, the state of Ohio has got quite a bit, as does DOD. These programs have been around for a while. There's resources out there, funding resources. There's best practices. So I would encourage you to do your homework, do your due diligence. We'll look at the funding and try to get you information on that so that it assists you. But by the time that you propose, it doesn't have to be the student identified and on board and all of that detail. I think it's just outline the program and how you would anticipate bringing on the students. What would their role be? What would be the investment that you and the team would make for the students, and we'll continue to try to research. There was a good question here about tuition waivers. Might they count for cost share? So we'll look at that and follow up with you. Another question regarding venture capital investment. Is that acceptable and applicable? I guess you should certainly provide any evidence of the financial wherewithal of the team and the expertise. That all is it goes to sort of valuing how mature your technology and your projections are with economic development, with commercialization. if you've gone down that path and you have commitments, that's going to be helpful and informative to the evaluators for sure. Someone has asked about you have to be U.S. citizens, international students. You know, I am not an expert on all of the processes around how you obtain citizenship and the requirements. I will tell you that there is a section in the solicitation. You'll have to be responsive to ITAR. You'll have to be prepared to understand export control restrictions. You know, those can be challenging, but they're important, and those things will be adhered to very, very carefully. So I would encourage all the teams to refresh yourselves on the laws and regulations behind export controls and ITAR restrictions, and we'll get you some additional information on that if that's not going to be sufficient. But good question. We want to be able to help you as best we can there and invite a broad swath of expertise, but you know, there are restrictions.
Yeah, these are good questions. Like Bob mentioned, you know, we're in the pre-release phase now, so part of having these meetings is to get your questions out so we could better the solicitation when it goes into release. We'll know what questions are out there, and we can get them answered before its actual release date. So just go over in the training again to reiterate. So January 20th, there's a mandatory proposal group training, you know, after the down select, you know, so the papers are submitted and there's a down select, then there's a mandatory pitch training that's a group training. And then there's a pitch deck group training. And then after that, one-on-one pitch reviews and feedback. And just to go over that a little bit, so the technical volume training will be handled by Burr Zimmerman. Burr's done this for us in the past. He'll cover things like, you know, the technical volume components, the supplemental volume metrics, you know, merit review criteria, and talk about how you write your responsive proposal and some tips on writing a good technical volume and white paper. After that, you know, the proposals are turned in, and then it goes into the cost volume. And I'm going to let Chris Lockhart, we have Chris on the line here. Chris is the contracts person. Chris will be presenting this part, so I'll let him talk about the kinds of things that he would be covering in this cost volume training.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Dave. So really the cost proposal section, it's all lined out exactly what needs to be provided. This time we've provided a template to allow you to really just fill in the blanks. The biggest thing is here, and I use the saying, let's just be boring, is that's what we need to do, is just be as boring as possible, follow the exact instructions of what we're looking for in the cost proposal, so we can, on our side, do a very thorough cost analysis and realism evaluation to make sure all costs are fair and reasonable. So anything that's proposed, provide support documentation, whether that be from salary data that you may have for direct labor costs or non-labor costs such as materials, supplies, other direct costs, that kind of thing, where you have quotations or old invoices to show that this is legitimately the cost. On indirect cost, the last round we did have a lesson learned that was hanging us up in terms of getting a complete evaluation done in a timely manner. So what we've done this time is we said, okay, well, if your indirect costs have been audited by a third party, or they have been approved by a cognizant government federal agency like DCAA or DCMA, then those would be reviewed and likely accepted. And if they have not been, then we're going to do exactly what the federal government does, because the whole purpose here too is to train you and prepare you for what you'll see at the federal level at the next steps with your federal partners. Is we will take their approach of a de minimis 10% indirect cost as it is just written into their regulations, and they would do the same had you not had approved indirect rates. So for the training, I'll just go through again what the requirements are. It's very clear and very explicit in the opportunity announcement, and following of the templates along with the Excel spreadsheet that we have that we would like you to make sure all your formulas are intact. And then the same process for any teaming partners that you may have. And I realize that those costs are likely proprietary, so those could be provided to us directly to protect the proprietary nature of such costs. So that's really all I have. Again, just follow the directions, be as clear as possible, and give us as much information we need to be able to do a thorough review of the proposal and allow us to be good stewards of state taxpayer dollars.
Thanks, Chris. I think one of the things I noticed, and I'll have to go back and look at it, so if it requires an update on the solicitation, but I don't know that we have in there the date for the cost training along with the mandatory pitch training after the down select. So we'll have to look at that. I'll look at that afterwards and see if we need to add that. The 15 slide deck training, so there is a one-to-many training session that is mandatory after the down select. Training topics are things like, what's the difference between, the deck that you're being asked to put in versus your presentation deck that you'll be giving. The solicitation calls for a reduced presentation deck from the one that you submit. And what are some best practices on making sure that you put an effective deck together for your presentation. You can go over Chris will go over the round 5 slide deck requirements and give you some tips on telling your story through your deck. What's your proposal about? Why is it good? He goes through the Heilmeier Catechism, which is a good structure to follow, and he'll give you slide design tips and that you can follow so that you can be putting your best foot forward, when it comes to your pitch deck. Chris Mather's doing that. He's done it for us before, and he does that for us in the Apex group as well. And we'll be getting back to you with those dates. And then I want to talk about team matchmaking, and I think this is where I'm going to try to do a live demonstration of the site. So I'm going to go and share a different screen, make sure that this works. And Bob or Becky, if you can, one of you two can verify that you see the website now for OFRN.
Yes, you got it.
All right, that's great. So this is the OFRN website, ohiofrn.org. So this is where you go to find the current solicitation. So you just hit the link for current solicitation, and the information comes up on the key events and dates. There's resources for different links where you can download the solicitation in its most recent form. And then I want to call your attention to the team matchmaking service. So this is where you would go if you're a university researcher and you need another university as a partner, or if you need an industry partner, or both, or you're an industry person who needs an additional university or 2 universities. This is where you would go and look for that or advertise that. So if you want to put your information in and you want to tell people that you're looking for a partner, you click this link that says advertise for a partner here, and it takes you to a form. You fill out the form, you let us know what your contact information is, information about your organization, what type of partner you're looking for. So a research partner from another Ohio university, an industry partner, both, or you have a team and you need a federal partner or a connection to a federal support, or offering capabilities to establish teams. So you might just be looking, you might have some facilities that you think would be helpful, and you want to just put them out there so that if a team needs it to strengthen their proposal, they know that there's something out there that's available. And then we just ask you to, talk about which AOI you're interested in so that the match can be a little bit more tailored. And then we want a brief explanation of your technology or capabilities that you bring into the proposal. Don't list your company name. Don't list, your university or whatever, because we anonymize this information before we send it back out. And a brief explanation of the technology and or capabilities that you need in a partner. Okay, so this is the meat of the input that you have to put in there so that people can tell, what your capabilities are and what you need in a partner in order to strengthen the proposal. From there, after that information gets put in, it automatically will, well, I shouldn't say automatically, but on the back end, it'll populate a Google Sheet, and then Becky updates this every day. So if you say search for a partner here, it'll take you to the form that Becky produces. The instructions for what you have to do are up here in the form. And these are all the people that have put in information so far. So, so far we've got, I forget how many, we've got 37, I think, is it? Entries in this. So these are all the people that are looking for partners, and this is the information that they've put in. You'll notice we've anonymized it. So the organization type, they're a university. They're seeking a partner with both. This is number 28. So if you're interested in what you see here, you would email back to Becky, I'm interested in connecting with number 28. And she'll get you connected so that you can start your discussions from there. At that point, it's up to you to develop your collaboration if it makes sense. And this is just here to help with that process. So I think that is probably, that's as far as I go for talking about team matchmaking. And I encourage, to, seek that out and, put your information in there, and we'll get you connected up. So that is the extent of our presentation. There is a contact slide that, Becky, if you could put the contact slide up there. Great. Bob, you're on mute there. So
Okay.
We have a lot of time for some Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. And we can go to Q&A here. I'm not seeing a whole lot other than there's another comment about can there be a PI that's a foreign national? Is that dependent on the technology? It can be, but I guess I would again caution you to understand the restrictions relative to export controls and ITAR. There was a project in a previous round that had some challenges, and it takes, frankly, working pretty carefully with all of the teams to understand that process. You don't want to wait too far down the road before you engage on that and ask each other questions, so that everything is out on the table. And then there's quite a bit to do to essentially insulate and keep all those restrictions in place. And it's probably too much to go into at this point, but do your homework on that, and we'll try to assist you if you want to ask some additional questions.
I would say, the reviewers are going to be the people from the federal organizations, and they're going to look at it as if this was a technology that's being presented to a federal organization. If it's going to fall under ITAR, then that's going to, create some flags, so you need to be aware of that. We could try to find more guidance on this question. It comes up all the time, but quite honestly, I think it's somewhat dependent upon what it is, you're proposing.
Yep. Here's a question on the federal partnership requirement. What is required if it's not an LOI? And it's a good question. It we're trying to provide you some flexibility there. You know, if we wanted an LOI, you know, it takes a whole lot of effort for an organization to put any sort of commitment on their letterhead. Takes a lot of, you know, due diligence. It just takes time away from the process. We think you can accomplish that through conversations, serious conversations, and if you want to evidence that through an email or through, you know, just capturing the back and forth, I mean, at the end of the day, you can expect that those who have been evaluating and the names that you share are going to be either at the table, they'll know what level of engagement there was, or we'll be checking with them and doing a little bit of due diligence. So you want to do what the appropriate thing is, and that's to have a serious conversation and have an understanding from the federal partner of the value that he or she sees in your technology, and, you know, and record that or document that. And I think we're just saying we'll stop short of an LOI. If you want to put something in writing, that's fine, but you know, it can be a challenge to go to the lengths of trying to get a letter of intent formalized. So
Bob, I think Becky was going to, she's got a list of technical points of contact for some of the AOIs, does she not, that we can get out?
Yeah, and what we've been doing to date is, as people raise questions and give us information, you know, if they've got an AOI they're focused on, they want to talk to a SME, we're providing that information to them. Again, in part really to try to help the federal partners. If we simply broadcast all of these contacts, they'll be inundated with calls. I mean, there's other solicitations across the country that are out there, and you know, we want to do this in a controlled fashion and manage the engagement that the SMEs have to have. They shouldn't be taking, you know, lots and lots of cold calls for things that may not even be relevant to an OFRN solicitation. So we're working with folks. People have been really good about saying, here's my AOI, here's my interest, and we follow up with detailed contact information. At least that's how we're proceeding at this moment. If you know, we can get any further instruction from the federal partners in terms of what they want to do in that process, we'll send that out to you. But again, we're being a little careful trying to manage their time, be efficient with their time, and not bombard them with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of email queries from all over the place and about different topics. So let's see.
Can you find more information on AOI number 11, journal article warning and correlation? I think that if you look in the solicitation, it probably gives more description. And then if there's a TPOC, a technical point of contact for that, it'd be probably good to hunt it down, you know, through them.
Yeah, that's correct.
Now Mike has put a good question in there. My feeling, it's up to you, Bob, but mandatory is mandatory. And if you make an exception for one, then everybody's going to be asking for an exception. And all I would say is bring a good book. You know, so.
I would agree. I think we need to have one rule here, and that's, you know, certain elements of the training is mandatory, and you never know, you might pick up another tip, and it might help you. So it doesn't hurt to refresh on it, but yeah, I don't want to create an exception and go down that path. So
let's see. Where will federal AOI contacts be posted so we can discuss our projects with them?
Yeah, that we just discussed that, and I guess at the moment we're suggesting go ahead and send to us. You can do it through the matchmaking process. You can send something directly to Becky or I, for that matter, and we will find the SME for that AOI and make sure that they're available, and we can connect you that way. So that's the approach we're taking. It's a more focused or targeted approach to connect people as opposed to just posting emails and contact information and letting and just bombarding the SMEs. I mean, they've got their day jobs. They've committed to helping us on this initiative, and for that we're very, very grateful. But we want to try to help them manage the time on this.
Should part of the research effort be done in the federal lab, or do they just have an advisory role? I think it probably depends on the project and what you're proposing. I mean, there have been some projects in the past that do use parts of the facilities that might exist, instrumentation or facilities at one of the labs.
Yeah,
but
acoustics.
It's not a requirement. Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely have to have some kind of monitoring role or advisory role, or be in touch with the project team to make sure that it's suiting their needs or what they feel is a worthwhile technology pursuit.
Yep. Here's another question. Can we send a one-page summary of the project to connect with the federal POC? I think that's a good idea. I think that's how you begin that engagement. And so, I
mean, one of the things that the Air Force has come up with also is that Air Force Tech Connect facility, airforcetechconnect.com, I think it is, or .org, maybe it's .org. And that's an opportunity to put information into the Air Force Tech Connect system, and behind the scenes, over the fence line, they endeavor to connect you with a subject matter expert that matches up with what you've submitted as a technology idea. That's another opportunity or way of getting in.
Yep. There's a question, can we get a copy of the slides? Yes, they'll be posted. The session we did last week, I think those slides, which are these slides, are posted, but yeah, we'll make sure those are available to you. I'm not seeing anything new there.
Nope.
Okay, this doesn't mean it's the end of your opportunity to ask questions. Feel free to reach out to Becky, myself, and you see Mark Bartman's contact information there. Mark, Major General retired Adjutant General, is a great resource. He's got connections across the state, and he's been engaged in these sorts of activities for a long time, and he's there to assist you in any way he can as well. So we've got a wealth of resources. I think I was suggesting we're somewhere between 100 and 150 years of expertise, and frankly, I was a little shy of another calculation. I'd say we're well over 200 with all the years of experience across all these different sectors. I myself have got about 30 years in transportation related activities at the federal, state, and local levels. I've worked on lots of project building, public-private partnerships at the national, state, and local levels. Dave has worked in Ohio extensively from an entrepreneurial standpoint, helping create companies, connecting companies, getting investment for companies. And then the Parallax team, the Apex team, the Parallax Advanced Research is our parent. And I know many of you know Dennis and his expertise. And then the Apex, our sister organization, that team is steeped in incredible government and DOT expertise. So we really cover the gamut across all industries, across all domains, and we're there to be a resource for you. Not just in a solicitation context, but we do this all day long, irrespective of whether there's an open call on the street. We work at connecting people, building partnerships to help you grow your capability, mature it, and leverage it. And there's lots of things that we can do to give you sort of a leading role on a national project, perhaps based on our network, to position your technology with the state of Ohio, with ODOT. We work really closely with the governor's office, with ODOT. They're always watching and frankly impressed with the research capabilities that you folks all have and how we've put together unique arrangements to just continue to grow Ohio and position Ohio as a leader in R&D and technology.
Hey, Bob. Hey, there's a good question in here that you might want to address also before we close down. That Ken put,
Okay.
you know, are there particular percentages the universities have to do, like in an STTR? So in an STTR, the university is required to do 30% of the work. We don't have those percentage limitations in OFRN that I know of in the solicitation, but you know, this program is significant to the universities and the academic researchers.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's they're a central player in how this needs to come together, and so I would be looking to leverage that capability and ensure that it's prominent. You know, it's not just put their name down and they're there just in name. They need to be a significant contributor, if not leading the project. So, you know, we try to create enough flexibility here so that folks are just not shut out of opportunity here, make it flexible enough and broad enough to enable lots of creative solutions, and not get too bureaucratic or hung up on process and detail. So, you know, you've got to have a certain amount of that to make this, you know, work and auditable, but we're also trying to provide some flexibility to folks. So if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to Dave or myself or Becky or General Bartman anytime you'd like. We'll do our best to get back to you ASAP. And with that, I think we will wrap up, maybe a little bit early, but thank you all for your participation. Really look forward to seeing what you put together and your proposals. It's going to be an exciting time, and this round, especially with all that's going on in these times, I think you've got some opportunities to do some extraordinary things for your institution, your organization, for the state of Ohio, for our country. So with that, I'm going to close it out. Thank you very much, and have a great day, and stay in touch and be well. Bye-bye.